Okay, I got to give you an update on the Bumble guy. The Bumble guy in Vietnam. Okay, here it comes. I'm on Bumble, as you all know, and there's a tool that you could say you're traveling. Okay, and you just name the city that you're in, and then you start getting what I would say profiles. But don't forget, the women make the choice of the man, okay, and the Bumble guy. So, as you know, I'm very strategic on dating in my 70s. Now that I'm single for the second time, divorced, some people would say a loser. My brothers would say, Rock, you're a loser, because I've been married twice and divorced twice. But they don't realize how it worked out. I feel fortunate that I could get out of a bad marriage, of a toxic situation. And how did it happen? I think God's been watching me, man. I picked the wrong horse twice. Okay? All right, it happens. I took a risk. I've had 8 businesses, and each one of those were, in my mind, a winner because I got out of each one a winner. Well, my divorce, on the short term, you would think I was a loser. But as time goes on, time heals all issues, as you all know. And sometimes you have to contemplate the consequence. Am I better off single? Am I better off spending another 5-10 years? Am I better off financially? Am I better off mentally? Health-wise? And as you get older, like I am, I'm in my 70s, I had to contemplate all that. You know? But my second marriage, well, first of all, both marriages were 12-year marriages. The first one was, I was 22, divorced by 33, and had 3 children, just start my career, and it was very, very painful. Because I wasn't the type of person that would take a loss very well. In sports, in games, in anything. Well, marriage, I hate to say it, is a transaction, is a game. It's business. It's business. But you're not dealing with a business person, if you know what I mean. I'm a business guy. I educated myself on business. And I played sports, so I was very competitive. I knew the rules of the game and so on. But when you're married, especially in your 20s, and you have kids, and all of a sudden you're accountable, you're responsible, we got all that. Okay? It was really tough. And then at the same time, I didn't know what I was going to do for my career. I was in deep shit in my career because my employer at the time understood I was going through a divorce, so they thought, oh man, this guy's never going to come back. So let's just forget about him and replace him and see what happens. Well, guess what? That's happened in my life, and I've seen it happen in other lives. It's not easy. So I went on for 22 years without being married. And then I met a woman in Florida. And the woman was Colombian. And I had criteria. My criteria at the time was marry a woman or pursue a woman that doesn't have an ex-husband or an ex-boyfriend, whatever that was. I was in my mid-50s at the time. No children if possible, because I didn't want to get in a blended marriage. Even though I was married and had kids, my kids were all married and adults and married. Okay? And what was the other criteria? Had a job, had a career, had a purpose in life, and was close to their family, because I believe that family is your future. You know what I mean? You don't pick them, But there's always family that, you have history with, you have experience with. They know who you are. I have 10 brothers and sisters. Not everybody, in my eyes, appreciate each other. There's not gratitude. But are we united? Yeah. But if it came down to a critical situation, I don't know if there would be a full commitment on a family. And I don't know on my side either. You see what I'm saying? Because I always believed in hard work and consequences, not entitlement. I'm not in the entitlement. And that's the way I raised my kids. I believe I raised my kids like I was raised. Hard work, education, being kind, and so on. And the other thing that my dad would teach us is make sure you pick the right horse. Well, I picked the wrong horse a couple times. Why? It happened that way. That was life. So the second marriage lasted 12 years. And I knew within 2 years, even though I dated a year and a half, I thought we were adults. I thought we had our shit together on both sides. Within a couple of years, I knew it was bad news. But I'm Catholic. I had a prenup. I thought a prenup would save me for at least a decision if it ever happened. Well, I'm telling you right now, a prenup is not going to save you. No one else is going to save you. And Colombians are not the same as Americans, okay, when it comes down to family values. And my background is 50% Italian, 50% Polish. However, my parents were both born in the 20s. So you're talking about the greatest generation. They've been through depression. They've been through 2 wars. They've been through 11 kids. They've been through financial struggles. They've been through all the fucking emotional shit that all 11 kids brought to them. I probably brought them the worst. I'm number 5, and I was brought up in the 70s, so I was off the charts. So, this whole thing is getting back to dating and the Bumble guy. I call myself the Bumble guy because that's the app that I believe is at least halfway decent. I learned a lot, though. In fact, I even wrote a guidance book. You could get it on my link in YouTube channel. It's something to do with 12-step elderly dating guide. It's a roadmap. And it's my criteria. And I know that, having success in business and having a successful strategy that I implemented, and being single, you really have the discernment to really decide what's right and what's wrong. But I'll tell you, it takes courage to leave a marriage, man, and not know your financial situation. Because I had thought that with the prenup, just so you know, the prenup would at least give me a 70%, 80% chance to salvage my asset base. Well, believe me, I had to fight for it. And it cost me 6 figures, just with lawyers, to save what I ended up doing, which was, Rock, you got to pay alimony. And that's what I had to do. So of the 24 years of marriage in 2 marriages over my 70 plus years, I had alimony of 30 years and child support of maybe 10, 15 years. Yeah. And do I talk about that on YouTube? Yeah, I got solutions, man. I got solutions. If I did what I really know now, I would have divorced in the first 2 years. No problem. And I probably would have paid the same just to get out. Because don't forget, I saved the life of my first wife by being the breadwinner, and my second wife, I was the breadwinner. So you're talking combined 7 figures, okay, to live the lifestyle. So I was done. Once I realized Social Security and Medicare and so on that, hey, I'm not going to have enough money to live. my lifestyle of what I wanted to do. So I had to bite the bullet and say, okay, that's it. That's done. And thank God I had a lifestyle of my parents taught us was save for a rainy day. And the other issue was live amongst your means. Okay? Those are very, very important. And another item that my mother gave us was the goal is to be happy. The goal wasn't to be financially independent. The goal is to be happy and at peace. And that's kind of where I'm at. So I came all the way to Vietnam to meet a woman that's not Western. I've been through Western women. My first marriage, thank God she asked me for a divorce. Thank God. Okay? Because I would have never learned. And I wouldn't have had this life that I've got now. Okay? And my second wife didn't have the culture, didn't have the commitment, wasn't dedicated. It was all finance, strictly finance. Okay? Once I realized that, and I blame myself because I was the James Bond of that family. I think the whole family saw that, man, this fucking guy is a breadwinner, man. Don't fuck it up. She did. I actually ran into the parents about a year after the divorce. I didn't speak to them for almost 2 years. And I ran into them at a grocery store, the parents, and they're like in their 80s and early 90s. And they looked at me, and I had no problem because I felt like I took care of their daughter for 12 years, and I gave her another 3-year life cycle. You see what I mean? And I went up to the parents to say hello, and they dissed me. They dissed me. I went, whoa, what's going on? And the mother said, you insulted our daughter. I'm like, what? I couldn't believe it. And I said, well, say hi to your daughter. I'm sure they will. So got on the dating app. I would say I went through an annulment with the Catholic Church, so I tried to get my shit together. I wasn't dating. I wasn't even looking. You know what I mean? I had enough marriage, and it took me 2 years to figure out, actually 3 years to figure out my finances. Thank God I knew where I was, and that 3-year annulment payout settlement, I had it covered. So I was like, fucking A, thank God. You know what I mean? And I didn't go to trial. The attorneys wanted me to go to, I said, fuck, I'm not going to trial. For what? For you? To get in front of a woman judge? To fuck me over and feel sorry for this immigrant? No, it's not going to happen. You know what I mean? I brought her into the world, is how I look at it. But that's the problem. I was taking care of another daughter. It was like taking care of another kid. Now you're going to ask, well, how old was she? What was the difference? It was only 8 years. But she was never married. She had no kids. And then I realized she didn't have a fucking career, didn't have a job. Within a month, I knew that. I went to therapy with her and everything. It was terrible. Nothing changed. Got worse and worse and worse. So anyway, that's not the purpose of this video. The purpose of this video is the dating app. The dating app. And the dating app, I call it, I'm the Bumble guy. Why? Because I took it. And people want to talk about it. And that's why I'm talking about it now. Because now I'm in the 4 or 5 years into being single. Okay? And I feel good about myself. I got my annulment from the Catholic Church. It says I was never married. And actually, they even indicated that you were never married, Rock, because you were, bottom line, it was fraudulent. That was their decision. The state doesn't give a fuck. State of Florida doesn't give a fuck. But the Catholic Church says, oh man, you got fucked over. She committed fraud. I'm like, yeah, no shit. So I got that. And we both get it. So she could marry in the church. And if I ever get married again, it'll be in the church. All right? So in the meantime, as I travel, because now I'm traveling on my own, saying to myself, okay, what do I want to do in my life? I'm 70 plus years old. I got Social Security. I live amongst my means. I have some investments. I had a great career, 50 years, but it's over now. It's over now. Eventually, like my father would say, eventually things come to an end, even your life. Well, okay. All right. So my parents in their 90s, my father's 100, still sharp. My mother passed away at 94, no diseases. Her body just gave out. Okay. So I'm like, well, I might have another 20 years, so I'm going to enjoy my life. So a friend of mine told me about, Rock, you got to come to Vietnam. Check it out. And what he meant by that was he sold his business. He met a woman over 7 years, decided to leave Minnesota and live and marry a Vietnamese woman. And I couldn't believe it. So I started talking to him about it. And I was in Japan at the time. He goes, Rock, why don't you come over to Vietnam and check it out? Because I'm telling you, man, first of all, a businessman's going to look at the fact that the cost of living here is about 40% of the United States. And now this is my second time, and it'll be 3 months in 2025 that I'm visiting Vietnam. And it all comes to, Rock, am I going to relocate? So I'm taking my steps, and I'm getting closer and closer to relocating to Vietnam, especially now that we see everything that's going on with the politics, the crime, the corruption. Minnesota's crazy. I'm in Florida. I got my condo for sale. It's going to take years to sell it. So I'm making all my moves to be independent and free with no overhead. Okay? So I says, you know what? My buddy met a great woman. He says, Rock, you know what the Vietnamese women have? They have family values. They're all about their children. They're all about their work. They're all about gratitude. Appreciation is very westernized. Their GDP is going to be 3 times. The growth is unbelievable here. And the people, the respect, the family values, the work ethic, the kindness. And I, as a businessman, I'm going, wow, if I was 40 again, this would be awesome. Start all over again. Oh, man. Well, guess what? I'm in my 70s, and I feel like I'm in my 40s. Yeah. I feel like I'm in my 40s. And I'll tell you, talk about beautiful women. So what did I do? Bumble guy. The Bumble guy got bites, got stung by 2 different women within a week. I fell in love twice. Yeah. And my dad warned me at 100 years old, the day before I left, he called me from Minnesota. I'm in Florida. I'm getting ready. I'm watching the World Series. He was doing. He goes, Rock, are you going to go to Vietnam and bring back a Vietnamese bride? I said, Dad, come on. No. I'm going to take the tour the whole country, spend some time here, and just do my research. My research is, what do I want to do? I got a second book coming out. I got a first book that's been published, my memoir. Now I got my second book coming out. And I'm doing YouTube. I'm doing TikTok. I'm doing Twitter, X. I'm on LinkedIn for years. I mean, that's my purpose right now is these stupid videos. But guess what? I'm helping people. People are really engaged in my lifestyle. And so my deal now is, how do I feel about relocating to Vietnam and be happier and at peace with less stress and live like a fucking king? Yeah, with no worries. And meet the caregiver of my life. Go ahead, laugh. That's why I'm here. And it's working. It's working. It is working to a T. And I thank God, I'm a very faithful guy. I have a relationship with my God. And I really believe I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't making these huge, huge decisions to do what I believe is right. Some people might say, oh, Rock, you have no morals. You left this, you did that. No, everything I've done is strategic. Except my divorce, the first divorce, I did not see coming. I was a workaholic. But after that, I said, okay, no one's going to take care of me, and I got to take care of my 3 kids and make sure that they're disciplined, they're kind, and they have a work ethic, and they do everything that I was taught by my parents. And guess what? It worked. Now I got 4 grandkids, and I could see my sons raise their kids with their wives with good family values, education, love, unconditional love. Love those kids, man. I love those kids. So the Bumble guy, and believe me, I get a lot of requests from America, women my age. Listen, my criteria now at my age was, hey, listen, I won't go less than 55 years old. I won't go less than women that have not had kids. I will not go less than 55 where maybe a woman's not a grandmother. Yeah. You know why? Because I saw my second wife didn't have children, didn't even know how to hold a baby. My grandkids, she didn't know how to hold them. And that's when I realized, oh my God, there was no compassion, no empathy. But she should really pick out retail clothing and everything else that she was pushing me on. And thank God I said, no, that's not our lifestyle. That's not my lifestyle, and I'm not going to do that. I'm saving for a rainy fucking day. And thank God I did. Okay? Now, so I come here. I meet these women, beautiful women, by the way. One's 46. Well, yeah, I deviated. But she was a mother of 2. She was here in Vietnam, if you're not a grandma, you're a second mom. They call them second moms. That means a sister or a relative that basically adopts the grandchild. Okay? And this woman's got 2 children, and they weren't old enough. They were still in college and that. Okay? Divorced, which is good. Divorced quite a while. And classy. Invited me to their family. I was a little shocked that they invited me over. Well, I said, you know, what the hell? When you're in Rome, you want to meet the people. Because I would have did the same thing if I'm proud. You know? And I didn't know what was going to go on. So anyway, that worked out real well. But here's one problem. Part of my criteria is long distance. I know long distance relationships don't work. I've been through that. Doesn't work. This woman actually lived and worked in Australia and would come back to Vietnam, you know, whatever. I don't know what it was, a visa issue or what, but maybe 3 months out of the year or something like that. And she was trying to get her shit together about her career and so on. Well, I realized, and we had, you know, WhatsApp is great. You could WhatsApp, you could do video and all this other stuff. And it was special. It was special. But I realized that, you know what, it's not going to work. And it's a heartbreak. And I'm going to be honest with you. You know who my therapist is now, besides Dr. Craig in Florida? AI. Chat GPT. Is that what it is? That's my therapist. I ask the question. They know my history. They get back to me. And I'm using it. So I had to let that one go. And right before I left, I met a woman in New York who was chasing me on TikTok. And I opened up myself. She opened up herself. Divorced. A grandma. Early 50s. And it just got to the point where there was more demands from New York, and I'm in Vietnam. I mean, it's not going to work. So it's hard to tell people that let's cut it loose. But that's what I mean about a strategy, having a roadmap, having your criteria. And I have a checklist. I have a checklist. So I had to say goodbye in the last 2 weeks to 2 that I knew weren't going to work. So I said, screw it. Well, here, I sent out a star or a, whatever they're called, star, to a woman that I said, oh, she looks attractive, 50s. And I noticed something on her profile. Her photo had an arm, a baby arm on her, and it was kind of cropped. And I said, man, maybe she's a grandma. Which I says, good, because that to me it means compassion, empathy. They raised children, and so on and so on. Well, here she contacted me, and there's no games at our age anymore. If people start asking, don't go on WhatsApp. You got to look out for ghosting. You got to go look out for spammers. You got to look out for trolls. What's the other one? Catfishing. There's another one. And anything that's really hot and young is probably fake, Well, this woman had a few pictures, very traditional Vietnamese dresses and all this other stuff. And I said, boy, she's attractive. Well, she contacted me like 2 days after, because a woman's got to contact you and say hello, okay? So anyway, I'm going to tell you what happened. Especially you men out there, listen to me. She wanted to meet me like the next day. And I'm in Saigon, and she's like a half hour out of Saigon. But I'm at a hotel where everybody knows it's central location, and she said, yeah, I'll meet you there. I said, good, we'll have a drink or have lunch or whatever it is, not knowing. So here I am, and she's calling me darling, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I, darling already? Come on. So anyway, she comes, she sends me a WhatsApp text saying, I'll meet you at the hotel. So I thought, oh, good. I just have to go down to the lobby. But it's a nice place, you know what I mean? Go down to the lobby. So I go down to the lobby. She goes, she's here. So I go down. And I'm looking around. And I see this woman, and she's kind of looking around, staring and stuff. And I go, oh, my God. She looks American. Seriously. I said, you could tell an American the way they dress in Vietnam, okay? Vietnam women are classy. They either wear uniforms when they're working, or if they don't, and believe me, they're tiny people, I actually, my size and everything, I look like a king down here. So anyway, I'm looking, I'm saying, oh, please God, don't let that be her. Because then I knew it was over. And all of a sudden I get a phone call. I pick it up. Here it's her walking towards me, a Bumble date. And I said to myself, oh my God, she looked better in person than she does on her profile. Yeah. And you're talking 5'4", 5'5", that's tall for a Vietnamese girl, woman. And we end up talking 4 or 5 hours. And here she's got a background in printing and packaging. One of 8 children. 3 of her brothers have factories. They're in manufacturing. She's got a child that's got a granddaughter. She's got a granddaughter. I mean, I'm like, this can't be for real. And I have hope. So the first 2 things I did was I sent texts out to the women that, were in contention. And because once I'm a very loyal guy. I've never cheated. Once I got in that, I'll play it out, see what happens. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now. And I was asked on TikTok, I'm big on TikTok. I got like 15,000 followers on TikTok, a lot of likes. And but my YouTube is growing. It's growing. And people want to know about the Bumble guy. People want to know about my retirement exit plan. And I came here to decide whether to be a snowbird here in Vietnam. I'm actually 80% there now saying, you know what, I can see it. It's been 3 months I'm here. And I'm basically semi-retired. I still got my mind thinking business and how to invest. In fact, I have equities in emerging markets, which is Asia. Asia's rocking, man, you know? And so that's my life now, is investment, tax advice, YouTube, my book, and just let my grandkids know that Papa Rock is alive and well. And last time I talked to him, which was today on WhatsApp, is listen, I want you to look up Vietnam. I want you to look at Saigon, Hanoi, look in between. That's where I've been the last month, traveling. And there's typhoons. Learn something, because someday, and there my son is in the background, I said, someday you might have to come out and visit Papa Rock in Vietnam. Yeah. Education, experiences. You see? So I'm dreaming now, and I'm hopeful. And knowing what I know about the United States now, I don't think there's anything holding me there. I'm too happy here. And my future looks bright. And one thing my dad told me when he was in his 60s, his broker was in his 90s, I think, at the time, and he died at 103. That's how my parents got to Florida. My dad was in his 60s, and he said that Bill told him, his broker, told him, listen, Carlo, my dad's name is Carlo. Carlo, you go to Florida, you'll add 10 years to your life. And my dad's in his 60s, so he's like, fuck, man, I'll go there. Well, my dad's 100 now, and he was a snowbird for 30 plus years. Well, I've lived in Florida for 23 years as a resident. And if I would say anything to myself, I would say, listen, Rock, Vietnam will add 10 to 20 years to your life. Yeah. And I won't run out of money in Vietnam. I'm telling you right now. And these people are awesome. And there's no more wars. Vietnam's had enough. They're the Switzerland of Asia. Exports, China, United States, Taiwan, Japan. Why? The people, the talent, the cost, the value. I'm telling you. So that's where I am with the Bumble guy. There's no doubt in my mind I'm going to end up with a Vietnamese companion. No doubt. So don't even think about it. No more DMs, no more thought. I want everybody saying, Rock, I'm happy for you. And like my brother teases me all the time, you know who you are, Joe. Rock, who would you rather be, me or you? Look at me. Look at you. Who would you rather be? Well, now I'm going to say it to Joe. Joe, look at me. Look at you. Who would you rather be? God bless you guys. I hope I answered everything. I'm being honest. Watch my YouTube. Watch my TikTok. Watch my X. I'm always got something going on. You know what I mean? I'm living life. I'm living a journey. And I can't thank God enough for putting me through the shit that I've gone through. I live life. I'm a happy person. And I want to bring joy to people. That's what I want to do. And if I could do it, you can do it. It's just that you got to be very disciplined. You got to be patient. You got to do the right thing. You got to be a person of integrity. Okay? And another thing that I've always said is keep your promises. I keep my promises to my kids. I want my kids to keep promises to me. I don't want liars. I've had too many liars in my life. Too many secrets. Too many betrayals. Well, once you see that, you can really discern now. Picking that right horse. You know? God bless you guys. I'll talk to you again. This is Rock LaManna. I'll talk to you soon.